Okay, well, welcome everybody. Welcome this afternoon to our extended disc webinar on customer service. I hope you're all comfortable and that you can hear me and see my screen. If you have any issues technically, please give me a question and I'll try and answer that. We have about half an hour and thank you all for attending. Okay, first of all, the reason why I've created this webinar is that we do have some issues with customer service that come up quite regularly, both within our clients' organisations and of course in my own personal life as a consumer and as a user of products and services. I often see that there are many cases where some training in extended disc styles might have helped these organisations provide a much better service level. So it's partly personal, and of course Extended Disc is a global organisation and our partners work all over the world. So we look after the Australasian area and we have lots of people attending today from New Zealand and Australia, so welcome. Okay, customer service and behavioural styles. Well, one customer service experience that's bad can change the entire perception that a customer holds towards a particular organisation or business. So this is about making sure that those experiences are good. Let's use Extended Disc to get the people part right. If we can learn to recognise the behavioural style, both of your customer service representatives or your sales team, you can also use this knowledge to adjust their style to suit the style of their customers. This can improve the customer's experience of your service, your product or your industry, and this in turn may ensure that they have continued loyalty to you and your brand and help build your business a reputation for excellence. This is why it's so important. Customer experience is the next competitive battleground. It's where your business is going to be won or lost. You may be competing in a field where your service offerings or your product offerings are very similar to someone else's. So it's how you deal with the people, it's how you provide service to your customers that may differentiate you, either as an excellent business or one that people would rather avoid. I know that the internet is full of quotes on improving customer service. So what I've done here is just to set a little tone as to where we might be coming from. And there's three that I've chosen that are my particular favourites. The first is from Bruce Ernst. He said, your website isn't the centre of the universe. Your Facebook isn't the centre. Your mobile app isn't the centre. The customer is the centre of your universe. Okay. And another, customer service is the experience we deliver to our customer. It's the promise we keep to them. It's how we follow through for them. It's how we make them feel when they do business with us. Okay, and that point's very important. It's how we make them feel when they do business with us. And I know that you've probably all had your own experience of coming away from a particular interaction with that real feeling of, oh boy, that so didn't go right. I'm angry now, or at least uncomfortable, or I'm frustrated, or you've come away from an experience feeling wonderful, that you've got the best deal, that people were polite and kind and understanding. So it's about how they feel when they do business with us. And the last, this is also a favourite of mine for a long time, and excuse the he, we'll leave it as he, even though it's obviously he or she. A customer is the most important visitor on our premises. He's not dependent on us. We are dependent on him. He's not an interruption to our work. He's the purpose of it. He's not an outsider in our business. He is part of it. We're not doing him a favour by serving. He's doing us a favour by giving us an opportunity to serve him. So I think these are really important framers for what we're going to look at next. Some research recently has shown from Harvard Business Review that more than half of the customers that they surveyed said that they'd had a bad service experience. Now that is massive. That's a big proportion of clients who've had a bad service experience. And nearly the same amount think that companies that they interact with don't understand them or care about them. The worrying thing is that 40% of those who went through bad experiences stopped doing business with that company altogether. This just shows we can't afford to have any, if not ongoing, bad customer experiences. Later on, we'll talk about being able to turn some of these around, but let's start now with knowing that it's very important to get it right, and it's important to get it right from the start. Let's just start at Leonardo and Mika. These are co-authors of Exceptional Service, Exceptional Profit, The Secrets of Building a 5-Star Customer Service Organization. And I've paraphrased these and I've made them a lot smaller. And this is just to start us off thinking about what we can do and what we see good service as. Their first pointer was that your first impression carries huge importance. So have them at the initial hello. Get that right. Secondly, to hire well. They call them sweethearts. Richard Branson calls them personalities. So I think what you are really looking for, they say, is for people who can adjust themselves to the personality of the guest. They're obviously talking hospitality here. Everyone should be able to deal with someone who's depressed or with a no-nonsense businesswoman. So this is saying that we don't necessarily just employ our gregarious, bubbly people. We must hire people who are sweethearts, and in this term it means that they are empathetic. Number 3, be great on the phone. Now there's a whole lot of resources out there about how to be great on the phone, and I'm not going to focus this on call centre customer service only, although of course it's applicable in that area too, but there's a lot of skills that can be gained to be great on the phone. Number 4, consistent service is repetitious. So you must do the right thing again and again and again. You can't do the right thing once and then expect that to follow through. So keep your clients enjoying the consistency of your service. Number 5, quantify their love. So this is find out, know what your clients are experiencing. You can do this through customer surveys. You can start with an overall rating to get a big view and then drill down into little aspects. But they suggest that the 2 really important questions are, will you come back? And 2, will you refer your friends? Maybe there's the first couple of important questions we need to ask. Number 6, make it right. So this is about correcting mistakes, acknowledging mistakes, and again, creating that feeling that the customer has enjoyed the experience, that they've won, that they're noticed, and that they feel good. To make it right doesn't always include money. It's not always the best remedy. Sometimes a lengthy apology to give customers the chance to connect emotionally is what they need. Number 7, have them at goodbye. So make sure the last moment they're with you is not signing of the bill. It's something positive. You want them to remember people smiling and saying thank you and come again. Okay, let's move on. This is an overview of some of the essential customer service skills that one might need. Empathy, positivity, patience, clarity in communication, and continuous improvement. Now, we can develop these skills with your whole customer service team. the thing is, your whole customer team is made up of people who may come from different behavioural styles. So you may have more work to do in some of these areas or with some of the behavioural styles over others. In any customer interaction, you're going to have your style working for you, and in other areas, you're going to have it working against you. So let's find out in what areas your style might work for and against you. Okay, so your team, your customer service team, or it might be your sales team, that also has to provide customer service all the way along the client process, might be made up of D style, which is on the top right-hand corner for dominance, I style for influence, the bottom right-hand corner in yellow. They might be made up of S style, the green in the left bottom corner, or C, compliance, or the blue in the top left corner. So one of the positive strengths of having D-style people in your customer service team is that they're really confident. They want to get things sorted. I-style people will create that really nice rapport. They're really people, they're open and bubbly. They'll find the positive. They'll be able to persuade their customer around to a certain way of thinking. They're also very lively and keep things going and interactive. S-style support, customer support, will be very supportive, as the name implies. They'll be calm and steady. They'll be great listeners. They come across as very trustworthy and essentially helpful. Your C-style will also have strengths in customer service in that they're logical and systematic. They're careful. They'll look towards all of the details and they'll want to know why. In case of complaints, they'll really want to know why. Why did this happen? And then go about maybe trying to find out in the processes what went wrong. So there's benefits of each of those styles. So you might like to see each of the styles concentrating in certain areas. So D-style would be really good at the shorter term contacts that they have with clients. They can lead the customer towards a decision. They can lead a customer towards a purchase. They can lead a customer towards a conclusion. The influencer, well, they're really great at having lots of different contacts over many periods of time. They build that relationship. They influence the customer onto their way of thinking or towards a positive outcome. Your steadiness customer service team will be really great at repeating that service again and again and again. They really like familiar customers and get to know them really well. They also like to have a familiar product. Sometimes they tend to take a bit more of a passive role because they're such great listeners. Your compliance team, well, they might become specialists in knowing a lot about their particular product or service area. So they're really good at providing information to that customer or client. They provide often the technical support aspect. Well, with any of these styles, you're going to have some really great positives in customer service, but you might already have seen that your customer service team seems to be more orientated in the S style or the S style behaviours. So there's some really great natural strengths here. Okay, so this is repeating the service with familiar customers or products. They take on that receptive, passive role. They're very supportive, they're calm, great listeners, and are really trustworthy. They tend to talk nice and logically and relatively slowly too. However, there might be some challenges here for customer service in that sometimes they might not be direct enough. They might not get to the point as quickly as the customer needs. They might have some trouble dealing with conflict, and that's because for them they don't like that conflict, so they might avoid those issues that actually really do need to get sorted right there and then. Sometimes they can get a little bit overrun by the extrovert. Your customer might be a really high D or really high I who needs to do a lot of talking and dominate the conversation, and S style can sometimes get a little bit overrun by this. They may also want to say yes in order to placate, but they might not be able to follow through on what it is that they've said that they can do. They may not offer up new solutions. So they may wait for the client or the customer to provide that solution. And in some scenarios that will be fantastic. At other points they will need to be able to promote a certain solution to an issue, and they might not have the confidence to do that. Okay, let's move on now to how you might see these in a behavioural report. So even if we learn a lot about D, I, S and C as the basic styles, we need to know what this particular person's combination might be. And for your team, if you're working closely with a customer service team, you can do a behavioural Finks analysis that is really targeted towards the customer service competencies. So here we've got a screenshot of some of the competencies that we have in our standard customer service report. For example, brief, goal-orientated customer contacts. That might be the sort of customer service that you are providing. This person has scored a 1, so it means it is part of their behavioural style, but it's not particularly strong. However, if we go down to where they score a -3, thorough presentation of the technical features, this person scores a -3, which means it really is not part of their behavioural style. They'll have to exude quite a lot of concentration and effort in this area in order to do this competency. We also have a focus on communication because, of course, customer service is very much reliant on how good our conversation and our communication is. So this person can be considerate and careful, yes. They're direct and goal focused, very yes. Okay, so you can decide if you want to create your own set of competencies that your business is interested in. For example, if you might be in hospitality. So here's a screenshot of some of the competencies you might be able to choose from if you want to create your own customized report. This is about front of house hospitality. We also have some behind the scenes hospitality competencies that might be more appropriate to your business. Okay, so how do your customer service team know who you're dealing with? How can you speed read? What is your customer's style? Well, to identify a D-style customer, I've just put a picture here so that we can relate this as the webinar goes along. Well, this D-style customer, he might be aggressive, might be a bit blunt, might be demanding, pretty impatient with time schedules, might interrupt you or become a little bit irritated. Comes across as very direct. He'll say what he thinks. What is the bottom line? Cut to the chase. This person will focus on the big picture, won't be so worried about the cents. States their own opinion, sometimes as a fact, and always thinking, how does this benefit me in the end? They can appear to be in a hurry. The most important thing here is that this D-style customer will make their decisions quickly. They may have difficulty understanding a different viewpoint or a different way of being. They've already got that quite set. Okay, so this is said maybe in a little bit of a negative way, but your D-style customer is also very assertive. They know what they want. They will be very clear in saying what it is that they want, and they will be very direct in communicating that with you. For example, this is Frances. She's a customer in a store. She walks into the store boldly. She looks pretty successful, and she heads straight for the salespeople, and she asks them quite bluntly, well, what's the best outdoor suite you have? When you start telling her the details about each of the different items of furniture, she doesn't really concentrate anymore. In fact, now that you see that she's lost all of her concentration and she's texting someone else. And then she kind of interrupts you and just says, well, show me the best one. She starts explaining that she just wants it to be sorted. She needs it delivered. She's actually ready to make a quick decision. But she also needs to know that if she gets it through you, then is there a benefit for her? When she fills out the guarantee, she's decided on what she wants. She fills out the guarantee. You notice that she's kind of left a couple of bits out. She doesn't really worry about putting the 25 cents extra on her check fee. But she is kind of rushed for time and quite demanding that it's delivered at the right time. However, at the end of the interaction, she shakes your hand and she actually seems really happy. So this is an example of how a D-style person might interact in a customer service type scenario. You're going to deal with that person differently to this person. So this person is an I-style customer, and you'll know this person because they talk a lot and are quite animated when they talk. They're easily excited, they're open and friendly. However, they can appear a little disorganized. They might not listen for very long and they stay away from all those hard facts. They might jump from subject to subject, but they talk about the people that they know. They also tend to make some decisions quite spontaneously, but this is on how they feel. They may touch when you meet them, but be happy to shake hands or be in close proximity. If you happen upon an S-style customer, their approach is going to be quite different. You'll notice that their speed of speech is different. They're easygoing people. They appear to be very calm and they listen carefully. They nod and go along with what's been talked about. They like their own physical space. And how will you see and identify a C-style customer? Well, they're going to be quite quiet. They're going to focus on all of the little details and ask a lot of questions. They're not going to easily express how they disagree. They like to study the specifics and make decisions after having all of the information. Okay, well, how your customer will communicate with you, well, they might be a D-style and come across very blunt. They might just talk to you and not really focus on small talk or the little details. An I-style will talk to you, but it's often not really directly on the topic. They might be an inspiring type person who doesn't really listen for very long, but they talk about stories and people and their own feelings. The S-style, well, they'll talk calmly about the issues that they know about, and they're more comfortable talking one-to-one to you. They can see things from lots of different angles and they're a good listener. The C-style, well, they're fairly quiet and reserved and they focus on the details. They don't like to really talk about personal issues. They don't easily open up about different opinions. Well, how they listen. Well, D-style might not be a great listener. They might interrupt quite frequently because they're about the agenda. They've got a goal in mind. They're focusing on what's the bottom line and how does this affect me. They might assume control of the conversation. The I-style might provide a lot of feedback to you, but not really assess what is being said. They get involved in what's been talked about, but might not pay attention to those finer details. Well, the S-style is going to pay good attention, but you may not really know what they're thinking or feeling because they can go along with what's been said even if they disagree. So sometimes you might not know if there's an issue going on until much later down the track, or even if at all. The C-style might get a little bit hooked up on all of the smaller specifics. They look for how logically you're presented your service or your product, or your solution to an issue. They do tend to ask lots of questions, but only if they're interested in the topic. They can be very critical, looking for that mistake or that error. Well, how can you adjust your behavioural style to be more effective in providing some of that excellent customer service? Well, if you're a D style yourself, you can be a little bit more patient, talk a little bit less, and allow time to socialise. You can slow down how you present your angle. Be careful not to dominate all of the interactions. There are tips for I, S and C, but what I'd like to go on to now is how we must make a commitment to become better listeners. So hearing is about receiving just the audio noise, but listening actually takes intellectual ability. It takes concentration and skill to listen really well and to pay attention to what our customers are saying, as well as what they're not saying, which can be a key to how well satisfied they are feeling. When we're exposed to a message that we don't want to hear, such as when a customer might be complaining about something, we can often tune out. So we need to be committed to becoming a better listener. This is having a look at how your style might show initial contact with someone, a client or a customer, of a different behavioural style. Here we have a similar behavioural style, a D interacting with a D. The initial contact is in the yes, so that's okay, that's quite warm. A D and an I, the initial contact is fine. However, between a D and an S that sit on opposite sides of the quadrant, well, there might be a lot more work here to do because the initial contact is not going to be particularly warm. Similarly, with a D and C, you might have a lot of work to go on here. That's quite low initial contact rapport. On the opposite end of the scale, an I and an I have that rapport immediately. As you can see here, an I and a C also have some issues. So what I've done in the next couple of slides is highlight some of these interactions that might initially have more conflict or be harder to engage. This is where contact or communication across the quadrant is a lot more difficult than if somebody is sitting in the same area as yourself. So a D and an S contact is going to be more difficult to build, and a C and an I is also going to be more difficult to build initially. So let's have a look at that. So communicating with your D-style customer, this is going to be very important, especially if you're a C, because initially this contact might be a little cool. So you can start with the overall picture. Make sure you stress what the short-term goals are. Look, Roger, I would really like to satisfy this in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to get it sorted for you. So let's talk about what happened in the first contact. So be direct and task-orientated. Keep to what you want to focus on in those short-term goals. Try not to go into the theory, into deep issues, and try to keep positive. Don't take the D-style's directness in any personal way. If you're able to, you might like to engage your customer with using pictures, because they respond very well to that. Let's have a look at some, I'm going to go backwards. Let's have a look at some language that you could use with a D-style customer. I need some minutes of your time. What do you want? When do you want that to be ready? When do you want that to be sent or delivered? So these might come across as very direct to somebody who's not a D style. They might seem to be too cut to the chase, but this is what a D style will enjoy and like. Let's have a look at another problem area. Communicating with an I style, so this is a extroverted people person, if you are not, if you're a C style. So if you are C, you're going to need to concentrate on the who, and what else type goals. You're going to need to be as open as you can and engage in discussion. Don't lose contact with that I style person. They need to know that you're there. Try and adapt a little bit of a team attitude with the words let us. So let's do it together. Don't focus on those mistakes. Remember the achievements or the positive side of the interactions. So some language that you might like to use. That was with an I. Let's move on now to another problem area. I'll keep focused on this because I know that I've run out of time, which I can't believe. If you are communicating with an S-style customer, so this is your good listener who's very calm and patient. If you're a D, you're going to have some initial areas of work to do here. So what you need to do if you're a D is to focus with this S-style customer on how to do. This is about process. And how much. This is about cost or quantities. Provide some time for that S-style person to consider the issues because your speed is fast and theirs is slower. So don't be too demanding. State both sides of the issue, beginning with what's negative and ending with the positive. Warn them about the changes before they're made and don't pressure them into a fast reaction or decision. If you're communicating with a C-style customer and you're an I, you need to concentrate on the why or what questions. Explain carefully and utilize reference materials and facts to back it up. Prepare yourself to slow down and think before you say anything. Be open to their questions and their feedback and provide some information to that C-style customer in writing. Remember to always be sincere and modest. Oops, I'll just go back here. So here are a couple of questions I'd like you to think about. For your business, what does good customer service look like? What are the behaviours that you are after? Does your company want to develop a particular customer service style? Excuse me. So you need to really understand who your customer is in order to create a vision of how to make them feel good and to give them what they really want. How do you understand what your customer's experience is? Can you put yourself in their shoes and walk their walk? Well, one way that you can do this is to create a satisfaction survey. Excuse me, I've got a bug in my throat. Excuse me for that. I think I might have just been choking on my mint. So to understand your customer experiences, putting yourself in their shoes and empathizing with them. You might also need to monitor and find out what's actually happening behind the scenes if you're unsure. So you can use real-time measure to get accurate and speedy responses from your customers. You might also want to check on the number of referrals you're actually getting. One way of finding where there might be some hiccups is to debrief some certain scenarios that have happened for your clients and practice empathizing with what their customer experience was. Is there something that you need to change within your product or service delivery and organization, or is it something that you need to look at in terms of the learning and skill level of your customer service team? Check and ensure that your entire team is on board with what your mission for customer service actually is. And remember that continual improvement creates an excellent team. So you can train your customer service team to become more aware of what their spontaneous responses to their clients are, how they're reacting without really even thinking about it, what their natural style might be. You might also help them to understand why some situations, such as the D meeting the S initially or the I meeting the C, that is such hard work for them. You can also help them learn how to tune in to that particular situation, listening both for the words that the client's using as well as what they're not saying, their physical attributes as well as the types of topics that they're talking about. And learn and teach how to your customer service team, how they might be able to adjust their behaviours to be more appropriate and effective. Well, thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry that I didn't get to cover quite all of the slides that I had ready there for you. I really appreciate your time in listening. And if you have any questions or you would like to be able to have access to these slides, please contact us at HR Profiling Solutions. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will stop the broadcast now. But if you'd like to ask any questions, I'll be around for another 10 minutes or so. Thank you.